Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, October the 11th, 2019. It is currently 9:01 a.m. Central Time, and this is a live broadcast for the VBC 66 app. If you're listening to a recording of this live broadcast and you would like to be able to listen to the broadcast when they're actually live and listen to everything else that we upload and everything else we post, go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Do a search for VBC, which stands for Victory Baptist Church, the number 66. Run it all together, VBC 66. Please download the app, share it with everyone you know, and most importantly, just use the app all day, every day. And I will do my best to continue to upload and post things that are relevant and things that are important. Now, I do have a podcast called News and Focus. Now, I have not spent a lot of time working on that podcast. I used to work on the News and Focus podcast a lot in the past, and it got out of control because once you get into dealing with news, well, it can become all-consuming. I haven't done a lot of work on that. However, this is a situation today where we need to talk about the news. I did not post it in the News and Focus. I did not post this and not doing this live for the News and Focus podcast. I'm just doing this for the official podcast for Victory Baptist Church. Because this is so church related, I think it makes sense to do this. But this is an important news item, and so this is what we need to do. This is a live broadcast, so just make sure you understand that. I immediately saw the news article, posted it to a few people, talked about it with a few people, and then went live. So I have not done a lot of preparing for this. This is just giving you, the information as soon as I heard it. There is construction going on behind my house. My dog may start barking, and sadly, I went live without realizing that I did not remove the phone from my study. So my phone is sitting here, and I guarantee you it's going to start ringing at some point. But I will try to make this as brief as possible so that we can make it as professional as possible before we have all the interruptions that I know are coming shortly, all right? But before we start, let's do this. Politics right now is a very divisive issue in the United States of America. All right, you're left, you're right. If you're left, you're not going to listen to anything the right has to say. If you're right, you're not going to listen to anything the left has to say. It's filled with division. It's filled with hate. It's filled with just a lot of back and forth and a lot of negative things. And many people just say, you know what? I don't want to deal with politics. I don't want to keep up with politics. I just want to stay out of anything related to politics. I'm just going to ignore it. But at some point, Christians have to realize you can't ignore it because, this is kind of very interesting. Politicians are very critical in what happens in our society as far as passing laws, writing bills. They determine a lot of things that are going to happen in our country. And as Christians, we need to be aware of what is going on. I've said it so many times. There's just this mentality with some Christians. I don't want to know what's going on. I don't care to know what's going on. And I'm sure not going to take any time to think about what's going on. But you need to pay attention to what's going on because it's especially important for Christians and churches because we have to be, as wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. We need to have wisdom and you can't have wisdom about what is coming if you don't know what is coming, right? You can't plan accordingly. And churches need to understand what is happening in our society. Now we got a news article. Now, this news article, on one hand, we cannot overreact, all right? Because I still think it's a long ways off. But it is something that churches need to have at least a backup plan of how they would handle themselves. I remember way back, when I kept telling churches, gay marriage is going to become official in the United States of America. You've got to make sure you're not running your church like some business where you're basically renting out your church and you basically, pastors rent themselves out to do marriages to anyone. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, wait, we're not going to allow homosexuals to use our church. Wait, we're not. Well, if you're running yourself like a business, your church is going to get treated like a business and you have to make a plan accordingly. And I gave some simple steps for churches to take, all right? Most people ignored me. Ultimately, we see what has happened. Well, we've got more changes possibly coming. At least if one person who wants to run for president, if this person gets his way, big big changes could be coming to your church and to my church. All right, it is something to really think about. Let me go to the article now. The way I discovered this was at 8 a.m. Central Time here in Abilene, Texas. Glenn Beck, his radio program comes on the local talk radio station. And I was listening to it. I don't always agree with Glenn Beck. Definitely don't agree with his theology. Him being a Mormon, obviously, yes, I believe that's an apostate religion. I don't believe that. Obviously, it's true Christianity. But I do listen to him. Tell me what's happening in the culture. I don't always agree even with his take on things, and I always question sometimes his information. But needless to say, listening to him, and he talked about something that happened, I believe, on CNN last night. It sounds like what occurred is they had a bunch of the Democratic, the Democrats who want to run for president coming up in the next general election. All right, the presidential candidates. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And it was really interesting. It sounded like they had they talked a lot about transgender issues, LGBTQ issues. They had transgender individuals in the audience. They had a 9-year-old who I guess identifies as transgender asking questions. It was kind of a crazy thing. Now, I haven't gone and watched the video of the whole thing from CNN, but Glenn Beck was playing clips from it, and it just seemed like, wow, it just hits you once again, just showing how our culture is so dramatically turning from anything related to biblical Christianity. The church, in many cases, are turning from anything related to biblical Christianity. And the culture is not only turning from the church, the culture is turning against. Now, that's an important thing. There's one, you got to know, the culture turning from Christianity, okay, fine. They're not Christians. They don't believe in Christianity. When they turn against, then Christians need to go, wait a minute, this could lead to trouble, persecution, and many other issues. There's a big difference, turning from and turning against. Turning from, okay, fine, right? They know they're not a Christian, great. That makes it easier to evangelize. Good. We're drawing a distinction. They know they're not Christians. They don't claim to be Christians. We are Christians. There is a distinction. Great. Turning against, wait. Now, that puts us in a position of we've got to pay close attention, because then laws can get passed, bills can be passed that can be very detrimental to the future of the church and how the church should conduct itself. Well, according to presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke, if he was to become president, now again, if he would become president, he's nowhere close to the front runner. Secondly, even if he was to become president, I don't think he would be able to make this happen. But this is the way culture evolves. Someone throws out an idea that will seem extreme, and everyone will immediately say, "That's crazy," but and it's rejected and nothing happens. But it sets up a precedent that, wait a minute. This could, that way maybe 5 years down the road, someone comes back to the idea going, well, that wasn't such a crazy idea after all. You throw out a crazy idea, people reject it, but it gets the idea into the minds of people. And the next time the idea comes forth, it doesn't seem so radical because you've already heard the idea previously. This is the way societal evolution occurs. And I'm not speaking from, evolution, as far one animal turning into another. I'm speaking of society. How society moves forward and changes and evolves is that someone throws out a radical idea. People think the idea is crazy. 5 years later, the same idea is thrown out. People don't believe it's so crazy. And then ultimately change occurs. There's an entire theory about this. We could get into a whole discussion. So Beto O'Rourke last night, I guess it was on CNN, threw out, it was called a CNN LGBT town hall. I just looked it up. It was the LGBT town hall on CNN. If you can find the video of it, you should probably watch it. If I can find the video of it, I'll try to post it on the app so that we can all see it for ourselves, all right? So Beto O'Rourke threw out an idea. Now, this idea, there's been lots of people who've thrown out this idea for lots of reasons. He's very specific in his reason, And we as churches and as Christians need to understand what he suggested. So here we go, all right? I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can, but make sure this makes sense, all right? Here we go. Beto, and this is the headline, Beto basically wants to bankrupt churches who don't believe in gay marriage. Beto basically wants to bankrupt churches who don't believe in gay marriage. This comes from the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com, if you would like to read it. There's all kinds of news articles about this from all kinds of news sources. So this is getting a lot of attention today. And of course, Glenn Beck was talking about it this morning. I bet it's going to be talked about all day on talk radio. I may have to listen to it today just to hear all the discussion. But Beto basically wants to bankrupt churches who don't believe in gay marriage. Here's the article. Beto O'Rourke wants the government to punish anyone who has the wrong beliefs. That is, if you're a church that doesn't subscribe to liberal orthodoxy on same-sex marriage, why should you have nonprofit tax-exempt status? At Thursday night's CNN LGBT town hall, sponsored by the Human Rights Campaign, the Texas Democrat and mediocre presidential candidate went beyond his usual snipes at Christians to declare all-out war on religious freedom. Churches and religious organizations that do not support same-sex marriage, he said, should be stripped of the tax-exempt status that allows them to stay afloat financially. And the crowd applauded. The crowd cheered when he said that. That's the thing to pay attention to. Not just his idea, but there is support for the idea. The article goes on. The candidate literally just spit in the face of the First Amendment. Whether you support gay marriage or not, I certainly do, this amounts to a pernicious form of government viewpoint discrimination. O'Rourke wants to use the weight of the government to punish religious groups he disagrees with. It's bizarre, immoral, and shameful. Now, there's a lot more I could read in the article. I just want to bring this to everyone's attention. So, what should we do here? All right. This is something I think every church should consider. Based off your financial situation as a church, based off your whatever, especially for large churches, what would happen if you were to lose your tax-exempt status? What would happen? Do you have a plan in place? Hey, you get if you have a board of elders, if you have a congregational rule, okay, look, everyone, have someone who knows the finances stand up and say, look, if we were to lose our tax-exempt status, this is what would occur. This is what would happen. First, everyone needs to know the reality of what would happen if it occurs, and then B, this is our plan if it does happen. We shouldn't be reactive, we should be proactive. What would happen? I think it's something every church needs to consider. Secondly, I think every church, now I think what would happen, and this is this is a prediction. So first, every church needs to look at what would happen and have a plan B. That's number one. Number two, and this is more of a prediction. I believe many, especially of the big mainstream, mainline denominations and churches, I think they'll compromise. I think they'll cave. I think they'll crack under the pressure and they'll give in, and they will remove their teaching of being opposed to gay marriage. It's already happening in many churches. Already, like, do we ordain homosexual clergy? Do we homosexual pastors? It's already happening in many large mainline denominations. There's going to be even more compromise, especially when money gets involved and financial pressure gets to be involved. So I think, too, you'll see many cave. That's a prediction. Number three, I don't believe this is going to happen anytime soon. So let's not overreact. It's not going to happen tomorrow. This is not going to happen overnight. In fact, I think Beto O'Rourke just pretty much ended his chance to be president. But the issue is, if he says it, others are thinking it. If he says it and others cheer it, then this is a There's already been a growing, pushback on churches being tax exempt. And I believe some churches create that pushback because many churches operate like they are a business. Bookstores, you see these Christian ministries all the time on Christian radio. Hey, we have this book that we think will change your life, and it's yours for a donation of $15. Or you're selling the book. Okay, don't act like you're not. Because you're like, I want the book. You've got to give me $15. Then I'm buying the book. It's not a donation. Okay, so and we can talk about other practices. Churches that have daycares in they use their church building. They have a part of their church building dedicated to a daycare, and then the single mom brings her child there to get daycare, and then she has to pay $300 a month. That's a business. That's not a church. That's not a tax. That to me is being run as a business and almost like a for-profit situation. So there's things churches are already doing that I think calls into question their tax exempt status. And in many churches should probably already lose it on those grounds, right? But there's already a pushback against it. And I think some churches would crumble financially if they lost their tax exempt status. Why? Have we created a situation where we could not exist without the tax exempt status? I know, I believe small churches, I believe mine, whether we have it or don't have it is irrelevant. I think we would survive fine. At least I think we would, possibly, maybe. Who knows? Okay, there's a lot of questions we would have to ask. But I believe I think we could handle it without too much difficulty. But large churches, I think, would have some major problems. So what do we do? Do you dismantle large churches? Do you move to a house church situation? What are your options? All right. So churches need to be aware of it. They need to be a plan B. Right? That's very, very important. 2, we need to just realize many churches would cave and give in. And number 3, we have to realize this is not going to happen overnight. But I think it's an indication that a change is happening in our society. Not turning from Christianity, but turning against it. And Christians are going to have to decide how committed they really are to their Christianity. They're going to have to turn to it. Now, there is a ruling in the UK. Now, I need to look up to verify this. I don't have the story in front of me. There was a ruling in the UK. I think there was an individual, maybe he was a doctor. He refused to refer to someone by the pronouns they wanted. I think it was a he, and he wanted to be referred to as a her, or she was a her who wanted to be referred to as he, something along those lines. And I guess the ruling of the British, court system basically said that belief in the Bible in regards to gender only being 2, is basically opposed to human dignity. Now, I got to verify the story and look it up if that is true, and if it's accurate, and you put that story with this, you see where we're going. Society is going to turn more and more and more and more and more against biblical Christianity, against it. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be consequences. How committed are you to your Christian faith that when negative consequences come, you're willing to endure this? Are you willing to endure? And now, again, this is a big leap, but let me just throw this. Are you willing to endure financial penalty for your Christianity? Are you willing to endure imprisonment for your Christianity? How much are you truly willing to endure? It's easy to say, I'm a Christian. Yeah, well, you're sitting in your nice plush church and everything is going wonderful and everything is going great. It's far different when there's negative consequences to it. I think it's a question we all have to ask ourselves, all right? So we'll talk more about this. I just wanted to at least get the information out there so that everyone knows Beto O'Rourke wants the government to punish anyone who has the wrong beliefs. That is, if you're a church that doesn't subscribe to liberal orthodoxy on same-sex marriage, why should you have a non-profit tax-exempt status? And he said this at Thursday night's CNN LGBT Town Hall, sponsored by the Human Rights Campaign. All right? And again, if you're opposed to a gay marriage, if you're opposed to the LGBTQ, G, all the different letter, quote unquote community, now it's being seen as a violation of human rights. And it's like, no, I want to value the human being. I want to believe. I believe in the dignity of the human being. I believe in the sanctity of the human being. I believe all humans were created in the image of God. And they have value. They have an eternal value. But at the same time, I do believe that there is right behavior and wrong behavior. And I believe certain sexual activities are right. Some sexual activities are wrong. And we all struggle with sin in different sexual areas. Everyone has and will. But it doesn't make it right. Right? And to say, look, gay marriage, homosexuality is wrong is just demonstrating a morality in sexuality. And everyone has a morality in sexuality. Not everyone says everything is good to go. There's people who condemn many forms of different sexual practices. Even those outside of Christianity. And I would ask Beto O'Rourke, I guess I'll stop with this. Would you apply this same principle of taking away tax-exempt status, not just to Christian churches, but to Islamic and Muslims and their mosques and their religious organizations? Are you going to go after the Muslims as well as the Christians? Because Christians are the ones who usually get named in these kinds of discussions and not Muslims. Because Democrats typically try to support Islam. Not in all situations, but it would just be interesting. At least it comes to my mind. All right, that's the latest. We have a lot more to talk about. But again, because I did not prepare for this live broadcast and my phone is just waiting to ring. And with all the noise going on behind my house right now, my dog's ready to bark. I will stop, but I wanted to bring this to your attention. Please talk about this. Bring this up to your church. Hey, pastor, what would we do if we lost our tax-exempt status? What would be the plan? And then the church needs to know what the plan would be. And not that it's going to happen tomorrow. Not that it's going to happen next week. Not that it's going to happen in 2020 or 2021. But it's coming. It's coming. I can believe that the day is coming, probably within the next 5 to 10 years, where churches will lose their tax-exempt status. I would not be shocked by that in any way, shape, or form. Maybe it's further out than that, but we at least need to have a plan. We at least need to have a plan, something to think about. All right, pray for our country. Please, as Christians, consider how committed we really are. And we need to do more to try to reach a culture that is turning further and further against Christianity. And it seems like that desire to reach the culture is going away in the lives of many Christians. And we need to get back to caring and trying to reach people. All right, I'll stop right there. Have a great day, a great Friday. And if the opportunity arises, I'll do another live broadcast. There's so many other things we need to talk about. Just to get back to studying and doing some devotional things as well. So, all right, everyone, have a great day. Make sure you are in church on Sunday and show your support by being there, being present, paying attention, and obviously supporting your church financially in any way that you can. All right, everyone, have a great day. God bless.